because of the super flu. People are sick. And when you got chronic illness, you got autoimmune, you get hit with the super flu, you just, oh man, it hurts. It hurts bad. Because, and if you could be somebody, you don't have any symptoms, and then you get hit with one of these flus. And then what happens is now you're getting set up for autoimmune disease. Like you get it 6 months from now, a year from now, because the deficiencies are insane with these flus. You get hit with the super flu and the deficiencies are insane. It just creates such a deficiency in the body because your body has to throw everything out to knock that out. So nobody knows this, really. Nobody knows this. So when the flu comes around and you get all that mucus in your system, you end up swallowing the mucus. It drains all night long into your lungs. Then you cough it up, you swallow it. It drains into the stomach as well. And the more mucus that gets trapped all through here, the more nutrient deficient you become. So when people get sick with something going around, whatever that might be, what happens is they get nutrient deficient. They get deficient because absorption issues occur. They're not assimilating, they're not absorbing, they're not digesting properly because the mucus is all in the way. And then 6 months later, they go to their doctor, whoever that is, they go to their practitioner like, oh, you're deficient in this, you're deficient in that. What have you been doing lately? And it's all confusion because it's not really what you're doing lately. It's the fact that you had a flu, that you actually had a bug, and that bug made you deficient because that mucus sticks around for sometimes like 2 months. One thing that people don't realize, it's in people's guts, and this is a big one right here, okay? It's mucus. So people don't realize how much mucus gets trapped in somebody's gut, and the mucus becomes a problem. The mucus builds up and it becomes a big deal. It gets in the way of, guess what? Absorption. Absorption. That's a key word right here. AW, after a flu, can bloating happen for the next few weeks? Yeah, and I'll tell you why. Besides aloe, what other food should be the focus on that? So let's talk about the bloating. So you guys got a minute, right? Okay. Bloating after the flu. Couple of reasons why it occurs. Number one, when you get the flu, mucus is produced. It's not just produced in your sinuses, your sinus cavities. It's not just produced in your lungs, depending on what kind of flu you have. But when that mucus is produced, it's produced in various areas inside the body. One of the areas it's produced is in the gut. Small intestinal tract, mucus can be produced from the flu. Can you believe that? Isn't that really annoying? But it does, and it can. So when we have a flu virus, it's everywhere. It's in the lining of the intestinal tract. It's in the bloodstream. It's in the lymphatic system. It's in the liver. It's in the organs. It's everywhere. The flu is virtually almost everywhere. And the flu creates a lot of mucus. The flu itself produces mucus, and the flu itself produces a mucus response. Your physical body will produce mucus too to try to tangle the flu up, slow it down. Doesn't always work. It's not always so easy. So when someone gets the flu and things start happening, they get a sore throat, boom, they got the runny nose, they're starting to get sinus congestion, they might get starting a tickle in their throat, they start getting that cough. Mucus is being produced. Inflammation of the sinus cavity is occurring. Inflammation of the bronchioles is occurring. They're coming down with the flu. A fever starts to crank up a little bit to hopefully kill off flu virus cells. As all this is happening, mucus production is on the rise, and it's on the rise, and it keeps rising. Eventually, so much mucus occurs inside the sinus cavities that guess what you're doing? You're now swallowing it. Yes, mucus is going into the stomach. Not only is it produced also in the stomach and small intestinal tract if the flu virus is there in that area, but what happens mostly with a lot of people is they are a mucus factory while suffering from the flu, and that mucus is draining. When they sleep, they're swallowing it. It's not only draining inside to the lung, it's draining also into the stomach. People who have the flu, congestion all night long, they have to sometimes sit up in bed. They have no choice. If they lay flat and it keeps on draining in the back, they'll have that postnasal trip, and it's just going to constantly be draining. It's going to go into the lungs. But what it also does is goes into the stomach. By the time you're done with the flu, even the end of the flu, you're still coughing up mucus. Many people, not everybody, depends on which flu, you're still coughing up mucus, and then you're swallowing that mucus. If you're not hawking it up, if you're not coughing it out and then spitting it out, if you're not trying to clear the top of your lung and using air and pressure to get it out of the lung, you're trying to like, boom, lift it out of the lung and then spit it out. If you're not a spitter, you're a swallow person with mucus when it comes down to the flu, where you're swallowing all the mucus that the flu's producing. Anyway, time the flu's over, you got a stomach and intestinal tract filled with mucus produced by the flu, produced by your body too, produced by both. And some of the foods you might have been eating before you got sick, that's adding to it. And all this mucus is in the stomach lining, against the stomach lining. It doesn't leave easy. It'll sit there on the outside of the stomach lining, and it'll sit there, and guess what happens? You end up bloating. You can be bloating for 3 months after the flu, and you can be bloating 4 to 6 months after the flu. So keep in mind that happens to a lot of people. If someone maybe didn't have that much mucus, they didn't swallow that much mucus, then there's a good chance they're not bloating that much. But the flu also breaks down the immune system. If you're somebody with strep, and maybe you're taking the antibiotic with your flu, and now you're kind of like using the antibiotic, even though the flu's a virus, but you go to the doctor, you know, the doctor, you want to listen to your doctor. Doctor's like, look, get on this antibiotic right here. So your flu doesn't turn into a pneumonia or whatever it is. They want you to get on an antibiotic. And now you're taking an antibiotic, but what happens is your strep that's inside your gut becomes now SIBO and bloating and so forth, and that can happen too. So the flu virus produces a lot of mucus in the lungs. It produces mucus in the sinus cavities. Mucus elevates, production occurs. You never hear a doctor say, is the cough productive? Is it productive, you know? That means, is the cough, you know, really, is it dry, nothing coming out? Or is it a productive cough where something's coming up? You may not have anything coming up. It may not be a productive cough at all, but yet mucus is produced, and it's in there, and it's tight in the lungs, and it's dry in the lungs. Hasn't moved past another stage too. That's another thing that happens with the flu. But the flu virus produces the mucus, stimulates the body to produce mucus, feeds off of foods that viruses love, produces more mucus, and then as all that mucus is inside the sinus cavities, in the lungs and everywhere else, we end up swallowing it and eating it. And what people do is they're eating so much mucus, they lose their appetite towards other foods because their mucus becomes their food. Their mucus actually is their food. And they're like, I don't have an appetite. I don't have a fever anymore, but I don't really have an appetite. I feel sick. I still got a cough. I got sinuses. I just want some hot soup. They're not like feeling that raging appetite for like some meaty cheeseburger or something, maybe at some point, but they're at that moment where they may not have that appetite because they've eaten gallons of mucus, and they've gone to bathroom and it's come out. They don't know it's come out, but it's come out. They're eating mucus, they're swallowing it, it's in the stomach, they're bloating, it's going through the intestinal tract, it gets processed to some degree, and then out it goes to, they're going to bathroom and it leaves. And a lot of times that mucus will sit there and it'll just hang out and it'll cake. It'll become cake up against the linings. Sometimes it takes 6 months on a bad flu to get rid of all of that. Maybe it takes like 6 months. So there you go. Could be somebody, it could be a month. Maybe they had a milder flu. So I'm giving you what happens with the bloating during the flu and after the flu. So I'm going to move this over. All right. Okay. So